guys, welcome back to my channel. So a lot of you guys seem to want to see me test this product out on camera. So today's video is going to be my first impressions on the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation. I did recently test out just the regular Ultra HD Liquid Foundation, so I will have that linked in the description bar down below for those of you who missed it, as well as all of the other foundations I have tested out in the past. They'll all be down there, so be sure to check it out. If you are new to my channel, I do these foundation reviews all the time because I know firsthand just how much it sucks having acne and how hard it can be to find adequate coverage products that work well for oily and acne prone skin. If this is the first video of mine you are seeing, I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe down below, and as always, give this video a thumbs up if you love these reviews and want to see me keep doing them. So let's talk a little bit about this product. It is very similar in description from the Ultra HD Liquid Foundation. There's a few key differences though, but starting off with price, it is the same price as the regular Ultra HD. It's $50 Canadian or $43 USD. You do, however, get significantly less product. It is 12.5 grams or 0.44 ounces, so it's very small in comparison to a regular foundation. Packaging is just a little simple plastic twist up tube. It's very compact and small, good for traveling or in your purse for sure. You pop off the lid, and one thing I really like is there is an additional little plastic cap on the inside to kind of keep the product secure and keep it from drying out, which I think is a nice little touch. There is 15 shades in this range. I got the shade Y225, and it says this is the equivalent of 117. This was just my closest match in the stick personally. And for finish and coverage, the coverage is medium to full coverage, and the finish is supposed to be natural but radiant. Now for skin type, they recommend this for normal to dry. Once again, I do have oily skin, so we shall see how it turns out. It claims once again just that second skin, really natural kind of texture. Also says it has the hyaluronic spheres in it to keep your skin hydrated throughout the day. This one doesn't claim to be super light, however, that's something that this one doesn't say. And they also say it's a great multitasker because stick foundations can also be used for highlighting and contouring. I personally never used a stick foundation before, so I'm really excited. It's kind of like a whole new world in beauty for me. And finally, in terms of application, Makeup Forever recommends their number 122 brush, which is just kind of like a stippling brush. It's slightly denser than like your typical dual fiber stippling brush though. I'm going to be using my Urban Decay optical blurring brush. I really like this for foundation, and if it looks a little bit dirty, it's just because I did like a little spot on my jaw with this foundation yesterday and blended it out, so there's just like a tiny little bit of that on the bristles. So let's go ahead and get started with the application. Alright, so my hair is back and the left half of my face is primed as usual. Today I just went with the NYX Angel Veil, so I'm twisting it up a little bit, and they say basically to just do a swipe on kind of all the high points of your face, so your forehead, nose, we'll get a bit more there, chin. They say to do one on the high points of your cheekbones, and then along your jawline as well. And they say if you do want fuller coverage from this product, to do a couple additional swipes. So I'm going to do a little bit more in my cheek area because that's where I need the most coverage, and also just a little bit more on my forehead as well. Maybe a tiny bit in there. Let's go ahead and start blending this out. Right off the bat, the application for this was so much better than the Ultra HD Liquid, like way easier, way more effortless. It's not streaky or patchy at all on my skin, and it just blended out like a dream, honestly. Like, it was the ideal application for a foundation, and it was relatively fast as well, so I could already see this being a big time saver, because like honestly it was already faster than using a beauty blender for me personally, at least. I could have probably been a little bit more generous with the product on the center of my face. I feel like when I was doing the lines like on the side of my face, I should have brought them in a little bit closer, so I'm probably going to build it up a little bit in those areas. It's already better coverage than the liquid foundation, so let's add a little bit more. Built up really nicely. Definitely gave me a really good amount of coverage without getting like cakey or streaky or anything like that. I'm really loving this brush. I feel like this is just such a fast way to apply foundation, and definitely something I could see myself reaching for when I'm in a hurry and I just need something that I can do like ultra fast and it's ultra simple. I think the shade is actually a pretty good match for me for this one too, and I do really like the finish. I think it's exactly how they describe it, natural but radiant, because it honestly, it doesn't even feel like I have anything on my skin, especially when I was blending it out, and it has that nice kind of like slight light reflecting quality that I like without being too dewy for my oily skin. It just feels really nice all around. So already I'm clearly liking this a lot better. I'm gonna do a close-up, of course, and I know it's going to look even better when I do finish off my makeup. So this is what it's looking like close up. Definitely a lot more flattering on my skin. To be honest, I think I'm liking the unprimed side better as of now, at least. This one you can see a little bit more kind of like brush marks and a little bit more noticeable pores in this area. But yeah, so far I really like it. You guys are definitely right. This one has quite a bit more coverage than the Ultra HD, so definitely go for this one instead if you want to try the Makeup Forever HD foundation sticks and you want more coverage. Obviously I still have to wear this throughout the day and see what it ends up looking like, but that is just like my first very initial impression, just solely based off of what kind of coverage level you're going to find. But as per usual, I'm gonna go finish off my kind of complexion base makeup and I'll check in with you guys again in a couple of minutes. Alright, so this is what it's looking like with my powder and complexion products finished. For concealer, I just used the NYX HD concealer, no spot concealing because I did not feel that I needed it. And then in my eye area, I used the Bare Minerals Well Rested. I went a little bit heavy-handed with this, so if my eye area looks really yellow in my close-ups, that's why I tried to blend it out as much as I could, but it's still showing up a little bit more than it should be. And for the rest of my face, I just used the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. I'm really happy with this so far. I feel like it is quite natural looking. Like, it's not completely undetectable when you get up closer to my face. You can definitely tell I have makeup on, but I think it looks pretty good for the most part. I don't really feel it on my skin either, which is funny because I felt the Ultra HD liquid a lot more, and that foundation claims to be like ultra lightweight, and this foundation doesn't have any claims like that, but to me it's more lightweight on my skin, even though it is like a thicker consistency. It's not the most smoothing foundation ever. Like, I would say if you have a lot of issues with texture or large pores, I'd go with something a little bit smoother to prime than the NYX Angel Veil, because that may just be something you want. Like, I would probably use it with something just a little bit more smoothing. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not doing anything to smooth or blur my skin at all. I mean the foundation, not the primer. The only difference between the non-prime side, I think, is that my makeup's kind of sitting a little bit funny right here, but I think it's because I've got this little tiny blemish. And I totally just noticed it isn't even creasing around my mouth at all. Like, it's not creasing anywhere really. It looks pretty good. Even on my like blemish on my forehead where I have some dry skin, it's not drawing too much attention to that either. And I don't know how it's going to show up on camera, but in person this foundation matches me really well. I think it's one of the best color matches I have found. So yeah, really liking it so far. As always, I'm going to do a close-up with my face makeup done, a close-up with all of my makeup done, and then I'll be doing my check-ins later on. It's roughly 1:30 again as per usual, so starting time will be 1 o'clock, we shall say. So yeah, let's go ahead and do the close-ups. Super quick thing that I wanted to add, because you'll probably notice it a little bit in the close-up, is that when I was applying my blush and my bronzer, it was kind of moving the foundation around just slightly and just kind of lessening the coverage a little bit in those areas. So I would definitely say that because this is a more hydrating foundation and it's more prone to like slipping around and moving, I would pair it with a more mattifying powder in the future instead of just kind of like a finishing powder like I used today. But yeah, I just wanted to update on that super quick. Alright, so quick first check-in. It is currently just about 5:30, so I've had this foundation on for about 4.5 hours. So far, I'm really liking it. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that when I get really close up, you can see every little bit of texture on my skin. It's okay stepping back a little bit, and I think it'll look okay on camera, but when I get like really close up, you just see everything basically. Like I just said, I think it would be a lot better with a pore smoothing primer just to help with that a little bit, so I'd probably in the future wear it with like Benefit Professional or something like that. I like the finish. I do think it is quite natural, and it is extremely lightweight. Like, it really doesn't feel heavy on my skin at all. I just feel like I look really tired. My eyes are super like, ugh, today. But for those of you who don't know, I am about to be starting Accutane. By the time you guys actually see this video, I will have already started it because I'm pre-filming this a little bit. But on Accutane, your skin gets really dry, so I'm thinking this might be a really great foundation for my treatment time because it is a little bit more hydrating and it's very comfortable. Of course, I'll have to see and test it out. I think with the more hydrating aspect and the kind of ease of application, I think this might be really nice coming up over the next few months. I haven't started getting oily or anything though, so that's really good. It's holding up really well so far and it hasn't oxidized either. I really actually like the shade. I think it matches me really well. I think that's all I really had to update on right now. So I will talk to you guys at the end of the day. Alright, so it is time for my last check-in. It is just after 11, so I've had this foundation on for about 10 hours and I'm just gonna jump straight into the pros and cons. The first pro is that this foundation had amazing application. Like, it was probably the easiest foundation to apply that I've ever tried. It was just so flawless and so effortless. It blended out so nicely and it just glided over the skin really nicely and worked really well. I can definitely see it being a big time saver in the mornings. Second pro is that it had really good coverage in my opinion. The next pro is the finish of it. It was just really my personal ideal finish. You guys know that even though I have oily skin, I like a foundation that's still fairly natural and light reflecting. I don't like to look super matte or flat at all. So this was the perfect natural kind of finish. Sorry if I'm looking down at my phone, I made a list. And it also wasn't heavy at all, which I found really funny because I think this is one of the only foundations I've tested out that doesn't make the claim of being like ultra lightweight and everything. And it's like the lightest feeling foundation I've tried. Like, I really can't feel that I have makeup on my skin. You guys know I don't mind heavy foundations, but for those of you who want a really good amount of coverage without feeling heavy on your skin, you may really like this. And it also held up fairly well too. Like, I am still fairly shiny, not as bad with the Ultra HD liquid, but that's really just happened in like the past hour I found, and it's still holding up really well. There's no separation or anything like that, and it also didn't oxidize on me either, and just in general it feels very comfortable. So in terms of cons, I really only have the two things that I mentioned earlier, and that is the fact that it's not smoothing at all on my skin, which it doesn't claim to be, but it just, you can still see every little bit of texture on my face, and that's on both sides of my face as well. So if you have any amount of texture, you're gonna want a really good smoothing, perfecting kind of primer. I did use the Angel Veil, but that one's not like super smoothing for texture. The second thing was that it did smudge around a little bit when I was applying my blush and bronzer, but those to me are both really easy fixes. Like, add in a smoothing primer, add in a slightly more intensive setting mattifying powder, and I'm good basically. So not huge cons. And the last thing was that you do get a really small amount of product compared to other foundations, so that's the other con with this. I'm not sure how well it's going to last. And finally, I didn't notice a huge difference between the primed and unprimed side of my face. It may have worn off a little bit more on this side of my face, like you can see a little bit more of my blemishes kind of peeking through there, but mostly the same. So to sum up my thoughts on this product, I think that if you are going to try a Makeup Forever foundation and you have oily and acne prone skin, that this is the one I would recommend, even above Matte Velvet Plus. I wasn't a huge fan of Matte Velvet Plus because it did not sit well on my skin at all. It looked like it was clinging to dry patches, and I didn't even have any dry patches on my skin. It looked really weird. And this one honestly held up better on my skin personally, and I like the finish of it once again because I'm not a huge fan of a matte finish. I think this is probably the best foundation from Makeup Forever, which is probably surprising because it is meant to be more hydrating, but all in all, I really ended up liking this foundation. It's definitely something that I'm going to continue using and recommend to people as well. And hopefully, like I said earlier, it's going to be a really great product to use while I'm taking Accutane and as my skin gets progressively drier. But anyways, this foundation is getting 2 thumbs up from me. You should also give this video a thumbs up too if you did enjoy it and find it helpful. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you are new here because I really appreciate it. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter as well, and I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys! I also had to give a urine sample as well, which no one actually told me at the dermatology clinic, but it's fine, it's no big deal. It's not like I'm afraid of peeing in a cup. But when I went, it was like right before the clinic